We are now outside the center, our recreation center, out on the playground, and over to my left, that's where the basketball goal. They had two basketball goals here. They were dirt court, but we had a wonderful time. As you come around right here, we had our horseshoes, and there's always a tune about our horseshoes. And as we come on around to my right here, that's where the softball field, down where the woods behind the light pole, we had a big softball field, baseball field that we had women and men and young adults, teens playing during my day. The kids stayed very active in doing things. And I forgot about right here in the middle, we had swings. We changed that had a leather seat and you could swing real high. And most of the time what would happen, you could sit down in the seat and some guy would get on it and hold the chain and you would pump that way, he pumped this way, and you would have the whole thing rocking. But that was the time of your life, just to be here, just fun on the grounds right here.
My name is Angela James, Angela Douglas James. My father was Fred Douglas, and I'm been in Mecklenburg County for about 70 years. I was born in Good Samaritan Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was born and raised in Huntersville, North Carolina. I went to Turnslida High School. It was the first through the 12th grade. And I had picked out the 12th grade where I was going to be in Mr. Jones's class. I had picked out the room and everything. So, first through the 12th grade, but I only was able to stay there through the 7th grade. In 1966, the school closed down. They called it integration, but I call it segregation. It was a shock to find out that I was going to be bused to the school down the highway. And you have to remember, in my community, everything was there. Like the Behringer and Berry store, the church, everything was contained right there across the railroad tracks, basically where we were relegated to. And so it was a shock to be able to get to the school, the junior high school, and to have to walk through smoke, walk through other kids my age standing around kissing and leaning up and cutting classes. That was a shock, because that wasn't happening at Turnslida High School. Miss Saunders was not having that. Because from the very first grade, where we had learned how to write and read and do math, learn our math tables, and then to be introduced to music as well. We did the maypole when it came in May. We wrapped the maypole. We did sports. I was a track star. I loved track. My brothers were involved in football, basketball, and I still love sports to this day. Well, I could not definitely, if it wasn't for Pottstown, there would not be a Mecklenburg County. Because of how we were so well taken care of, what we learned, the experience of having the Behringer and Berry store there, the Rosenwald Recreational Center there, the teachers that were there, Mr. Wynn, and just a sense of community that we did every year after year that I was there. So it wouldn't be Mecklenburg County because a lot of us that went to Turnslida School, that graduated, we have made the county. Because I've been in this county all my life. I am who I am because of my early experience there. So that makes Mecklenburg County. Definitely my father was pillar in the community. It's kind of interesting. My mother went to the Presbyterian church and my father went to the Baptist church, but it was still very cohesive. Mr. Rochelle had a garden that we called the Bottom, and then he was able to provide economically to the churches there. There were Baxter Farr, that was very crucial in the community. The Barringers, Mr. Curly Barringer, Mr. Kearns had a barber shop. He cut hair. So there, a lot of men held it down. Definitely for all the holidays. I remember my dad, he not only held it down in the community, working, having gardens, working at the Huntersville Hospital. He was a cook as well. He made gingerbread. If Pottstown goes away, it would be like the home that I grew up in there that has gone away. It would be a loss of a connection and a groundedness and a rootedness that I carry with myself wherever I go today, and trying to form relationships with other people. I carry that with me. So if Pottstown was not there, which it really has lost a lot of that already, it just doesn't have the groundedness and the rootedness and the black radical love that I grew up with. It's lost that already. So if it doesn't stay there and stay in place, it doesn't have the opportunity to cultivate that even further for other people that will come in. Mecklenburg County loses a lot if we think about the fact that in the last 250 years, if we think about the growth that it has up until this point, it has a lot to lose from that point on. When I think about the incubator where we had learned to have our own businesses, how we learned to provide our own food, how the men provided to show love and care for their family units. Mecklenburg County will lose that in the history of things.
I was born here in the Pottstown area of Huntersville, North Carolina. I have lived in Mecklenburg County all of my 65 years, with the exception of 4 years away between 1975 and 1979 when I was in college in Virginia. I was actually born over in the Long Creek community. My parents had this house built, which reminds me, we live right across the street. The house is right across the street from the school. The gray house on the corner of Central Avenue and Holbrook is where I was, well, not where I was born, but where I lived most of my life. But that house was built in the early 1940s by my parents. And shortly after that, my grandmother, my mother's mother, became critically ill. And so they rented this house out and moved over to Long Creek, which is where she lived, to help take care of her. And the family moved back into this home in 1961 after my grandmother had passed away. So I can recall from about 61, which I was about 4 years old, I can remember them painting the house. I can remember my mother digging up rocks in the yard, trying to make a smooth lawn, and wheelbarrowing rocks to a pile and that kind of thing, setting out flowers. I can remember the smell of some yellow paint. They painted the house was first yellow before it was anything else, and I remember the smell of that paint. That's one thing that sticks out in my mind as a child. And while we were getting settled into the house, I can recall that. My father's name is Curly Barringer, and I'm going to talk about them, share some of the information on them in what I present later. My mother's name is Anna Greer Barringer. My mother was born in the Long Creek community. Her parents purchased property there to farm and to raise a family. And so for her first, I would say 14, 15 years, she lived in Long Creek in the family home on a farm. They farmed. And she went to school at a school up on Lake Norman, Rosenwald School, from 1st through 8th grade. My father, Curly Barringer, was born in a little area called Caldwell Station, which is between Huntersville and Cornelius. He was born to, his parents were Rosa and James Davis. They were sharecroppers, and they lived on the owner's property there. in Caldwell Station, near the Caldwell Station area. When I think back on my childhood and when I was actually living here, there weren't as many houses here as there are now. There were a lot of children here, a lot of children my age, cousins and other neighbors that I made friends with, and lifelong friendships that were established at that point. There was a store here in the middle of the community that my aunt and her sister ran. There was a lot of traffic back and forth to that store during the day. I didn't go much because we didn't have a whole lot of extra money to do that, but a lot of people were back and forth to the store. That store was also key to this school here, to Torrance Lytle. A lot of kids went over there and got snacks for lunch and so forth, and a lot of the teachers went there on their way home from school or, on the way to work in the morning, stopped by to get whatever they would need from the store. But a quiet neighborhood, very family-oriented. This school, Torrance Lytle School, was the nucleus of this community, very much the nucleus of this community. And a lot of the activities from the school kind of determined some of the activities that the community got involved in. Football games, basketball games. Torrance Lytle closed in 1966, and in the spring of 1960, I was finishing the 3rd grade. And so the schools integrated here in Huntersville, so the elementary, middle, high school, all those integrated, but I was completing the 3rd grade when the school closed. And I remember when it closed, about 2 or 3 months before the end of the year, the lower grades went on a field trip to visit Huntersville Elementary. And I can recall seeing some dilapidated flooring and some chairs broken in the auditorium, and we were like little rebels. We were like, well, we got to come to this old raggedy school, and our school is in good shape. The gymnasium was fairly new, and so we had some comments about that. But we went on a field trip to see what the school was like and to just get a feel for what we were going to be dealing with in the fall. We did have, historically, a Mr. Othapotts who owned much of the land around here, who donated this land for the building of Torrance Lytle High School. This is a black man who, was wealthy with land and I guess money as well. But a small community, not formally organized community, who has since gelled into what we know as the Pottstown area. So he saw the need here to build the school here. This community was growing. It was a new community. I think the school was completed in 1939. The first graduating class was 1939. So this neighborhood was developing, because my parents' home was not built till the early 40s. So when they moved in this neighborhood, they were still working on the school, the main part of the school. So this was forming, and he saw potential here and saw an opportunity to make a difference in this community, by deciding or helping to decide that the school would be built here. I can see some activity going on first of all, to celebrate what Pottstown has been and is today. We even with this, this is a birthday celebration. All of this is a part of a birthday thing, but also at the same time, with the help of Miss Caldwell and others, finding this as an opportunity to celebrate and to remind the community of where we've come from and what Pottstown has meant to all of us.
I met my wife, who is Niecy. She was from up here, and that sort of changed my life a little bit. I never met anybody like her. I thought when I met her family, I could tell then she was a good person. She come from a good family. So we dated for so many years, and we decided to move up here. And we did, but while I was there, I worked it for Piedmont Natural Gas. And I was there for about 27 years. So I met Niece, and they gave us the opportunity to move up here regular rent free. And then they said they wanted to charge us $100. So you couldn't beat that. So I got permission from the man who owned the house to come up here. So we did. And this is where I've been. When I came here, it was sort of like a little trip. The place right here, which I'll call it the place next door. When I first moved here, they used to have all the bats flying out the chimney. I never seen anything like it. I thought it was nice, and the people up here were nice too. That's why I decided to stay. Even to this day right here, I wouldn't leave because my neighbors, real good peoples, and the neighborhood is good. You don't find too much happening around here. So that's about my story. I don't know why you know them or not, but Clyde Moore, who was a person that had been up here for years, they the one gave us the house. And I met him and a bunch of his friends, my mother-in-law, and most of them treated me like I was some kind of king or something, but that was good because I ain't no say I deserved that, but I treated their daughter good. And I think to a parent, that's all that matters. Anyway, I moved up here right before he was born because my wife said she wanted a home. So when he was born, he would be born right here. So we moved up here then. Like I say, 33 years ago. I can't go back and decide what year was that. But anyway, when I moved up here, what I remember, it was like a country to me. But I thought the people up here were some of the best people that I ever met. And I'm talking about white people too. I thought all of them were some of the best people that I had met. When we moved up here, niece's grandfather, he the one gave us the house. He was leaving. He told us we could have gone and just move in and keep it up. We end up staying there, and then we end up paying $100. And Beck Caldwell's mother was next door to us. And we just fell in love with each other. I feel like she was older, and anything she needed done to her house, I was there to help her. Anything I needed done, she was there for me, because she was sort of like, I hate to say this, but like a workaholic. And that was good in a way, because she kept her yard nice. I didn't. But then because of her, I started working on my yard and stuff. So then Betty and her sister, Pauline, started coming around, and we all introduced ourselves, and sometimes, we just work together. Well, I think the peoples here, the older peoples, they work real hard. I mean, I think they done made a difference for what we got here today. So that's why I say I'm trying to get involved and get my kids involved. Because I used to come to a few meetings, whatnot, but older people there. And then they got me involved in it, which I wasn't ready. And I call myself going around trying to connect with the younger people. And it just wasn't nothing there. But the older people, they the ones got things to where it is today. I think they most of them done worked hard, and right now they still working hard. But they got a lot of pride. I give that to them. But my thing is to try to get the younger people, and I don't know how we gonna do that. But we still need to start working on them, because sooner or later the older people gonna be gone. It ain't not gonna be nothing here but the young people. But the thing is, right now, I hate about it. Most of the younger people's, most of the guys anyway, the younger guys getting married and then they leaving Huntersville. But the one that's here needs gone and going to do what they can for the neighborhood, because Huntersville is growing. And to me, we're going to be left out if we don't step up.